What's happening, family? Listen, I'm back with another video. I wanted to drop this video real quick because I feel like it's going to help some of you guys reflect on your own personal situation the same way it did me when I read this question. The question was so thought-provoking that it actually took me a few days to process my answer on that. So I actually commented back to the question in the comment section, but after I made that comment, I continued to think about that question over and over and over, and I just kept thinking about different scenarios in my head. And Jessica, I absolutely appreciate the question. Basically, what Jessica was asking was I in God when I was in a relationship with the narcissist? And one of the things that I feel like all of us as empathic people, like I feel like all of us have always felt connected to source in some different way. Like since I was a little teeny child, I always felt like I was here for a purpose. I always felt like there was an assignment over my life, and I felt like it was certain things that I just wasn't going to be able to get away with like other people could. I mean, I knew that from a young age. I saw it happening around me. Like my friends would do certain things and get away with it, and I would always get hemmed up. You know what I'm saying? I would always get like caught up in the situation, and no matter how like sneaky I tried to be, no matter how like slick I tried to be to, you know, get out of it or whatever the case may be, I always, like the light was just always shining on me so much that it would throw people for a loop if I ever got into any certain types of situations, because it was always this magnifying glass over my life. Like, you know, people expect more from you, or people expect better from you, and this, you know, that kind of thing. So when you ask the question of was I in God, originally I was thinking to myself like, yeah, I've always been connected to God, and I've always felt connected to source, and I've always felt like, you know, like I said, I was living for a purpose, and I knew what team that I was on. You know what I'm saying? I knew that throughout my life I was always going to choose good over evil, if that makes sense to y'all. You know what I'm saying? So although I was connected to God, and although I was actually thinking about this a few days ago. I grew up in a real rough neighborhood, right? I grew up like in an extremely rough neighborhood, and I love my parents. I love my mom to death, like, you know, and my mother will tell you that overall I was a pretty good kid, but every once in a while curiosity would kill the cat. Like, you know what I'm saying? I would get curious about something that I wasn't allowed to do. And I'm talking about even in my young years. Like, so I'm thinking about like when I'm 7, 8, 9 years old. I grew up in kind of like a rough neighborhood. So because of the neighborhood that I grew up in, my mother would always tell us to like play on our street. Like, don't go nowhere where I can't see you. You know what I'm saying? Like as a young kid, I'm 7, 8 years old, and I'm wondering, like, you know, it's kids around the corner, and they live right around the corner that I go to school with, and I play with these kids all the time. And you know, at school, so why can't I go around the corner and play with them? It's like, you know what I'm saying? And it's just that pull that you just, all your friends around the corner, you know, you want to go hang out with them, but your parents know what's best for you. You know what I'm saying? So my mother was very strict about going around that corner. Like, hey, listen, don't let me find out y'all going around that corner. You know what I'm saying? And she would always, like, she was very adamant about, listen, you know, stay right here, stay where I can see you. You know what I'm saying? Don't go around that corner. So as time went on, that was always kind of like the rule of like, man, stay on your strip, stay on your street. Let me be able to see you. Let, you know, the other neighbors that, you know, we know they can kind of see you and help keep an eye on you, but around that corner, we can't see what's going on. And me not understanding the dangers of around the corner, I was always still curious about it because my friends was around there. Even my sister was a little older than me, but she was curious about like, hey, I mean, you know, our friends around there, let's go. You know what I'm saying? So it was like almost, it was almost this like gravitational pull because everybody told us not to. You know what I'm saying? Kind of like Adam and Eve. You know what I'm saying? It's always like this pull to do what you're not supposed to do. You know what I'm saying? So I would every once in a while, something would be going on around the corner, and I would trying to be sneaky and thinking I can just, I'll go around the corner real quick and I come right back. And every time that I would try to sneak around that corner, something would happen. You know what I'm saying? It was like always something, like, and something just totally unexpected would happen, like something crazy would happen. So I remember one time I went around the corner and a bunch of my friends were shooting basketball. Okay, that's harmless, you know what I'm saying? So I walk up with my basketball, and I was a basketball player. So I walk up with my basketball and I start shooting the basketball. I shoot the basketball and it hit the rim and it bounced off the rim. And I had just got this basketball. Now, you know, like back in the 80s, man, when you come from a poor household, any gift that you get is important. So your parents done spent their hard-earned money on what you know what I'm saying, on getting you something, and they basically expecting you to take care of it. You got to be responsible for it. So I shot the basketball, it hit the rim, and it bounced over this barbed wire fence. So me as a kid, I'm like, man, I can't go home without that ball. And there was no other way. It was like a barbed wire fence to a warehouse complex that was right behind our neighborhood. And it wasn't like I could just walk around as a kid and just say, hey, can I get my basketball or whatever? So I'm like, okay, well, I got to go over this fence. So me and my friends started attempting to go over this fence. When I tell you, I got hit with the barbed wire from here, like on my hand, all the way down, all the way like to almost to my elbow, and I got cut so deep, and the cut was so bad. And now, all that sneaky stuff that I was trying to do, now I have to go home and tell my mother what happened. You see what I'm saying? Now I have to go home and be like, hey, listen, you know, I snuck around the corner and I was playing basketball, but even though I was trying to be sneaky and thinking that I was going to get away with it and just come right back around the corner and I was going to be cool, something ended up happening to where she found out anyway. And I ended up getting hurt extremely bad because I disobeyed her. You know what I'm saying? I disobeyed her. So then there was another time where, still around that same corner, and what's extremely crazy about this, around this corner, is the narcissist that actually is responsible for me making this channel lived around the same corner. She literally lived around the same corner where my mother told me as a child to stay away from. So if I had just continued to, you know, be obedient to my mother throughout the years, then I would have never even been involved with the narcissist that I ended up involved with, and that I currently have to deal with now. You know what I'm saying? I wouldn't even be involved in that situation had I just listened to, you know what I'm saying, what my mother knew best. Like my parents knew best at that time. But of course, me being a child, me not knowing the dangers of what's going on around there, and just me being curious and me having my own wants and desires, it was a gravitational pull just pulling me around that corner. Now, did I know that things could happen or things could go wrong? Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Like I'm not gonna say that I was green to danger, but I just felt like it wouldn't hit me. You know what I'm saying? I felt like it wouldn't, I felt like because my intentions was good, in the same way that we feel like just because our intentions are good when we come into these relationships with, you know, narcissistic people, our intentions are good, but just because our intentions are good doesn't mean that the other people intentions are good, and that doesn't still mean that you won't end up getting hurt and you won't get your, you know, your heart snatched out your chest behind playing with somebody that don't care nothing about you. So I remember, like I said, I remember another time we went around this corner in the same, you know, every time we would go around the corner, this particular time we go around the corner and my sister gets into this big fight where she ends up getting into a fight with one guy, and then I come and try to rescue her because, you know, just I'm playing, you know, I'm little brother, but I'm not gonna let nobody hit my sister. So, and then she was fighting a guy, so I'm running down and I'm like going to try to save my sister, and I run down and I fight for my sister. I push my sister out the way, which number one, that was a strike against me, because once I pushed my sister out of the way, then she turned her violence towards me because I pushed her out of the way because she wanted to get at the dude so bad that it hit her, you know what I'm saying? And now she mad at me because I didn't push her out the way trying to protect her, you know what I'm saying? So now I'm fighting my sister, then I have to fight this guy that then put his hands on my sister, and now me and him going at it, and then the next day, him and a couple of his partners came and tried to jump me. Well, they jumped me at the bus stop, but my same sister, she came outside, and you know what I'm saying, we put our backs together and we rumbled, and you know what I'm saying, we came out, you know, we came out alive. We came out, we survived the situation, and we made our statement, we made our point, you know what I'm saying? So at the end of the day, man, I feel like when it comes down to it, was I in God? Was I always connected to God? And it kind of takes me back to the footprints. It's like, yeah, I do feel like I was always connected to God. I feel like I was always in relationship with God. Now, was I doing everything obediently to what he wanted, you know, as my parent, like as the guardian of my life or the ruler of my life? Was I living according to his will? No, you know what I'm saying? And a lot of that is because a lot of us empaths, most of us are pouring from a half empty cup anyway. So where we are empty at, we try to fill that up with different forms of intimacy. So a lot of us will, you know, we'll turn to lust and sex, and we want to please our people, and we want to make people feel good about themselves and all of that kind of stuff. And we're, like I said, because we're pouring from like a half empty jar, and we're always pouring of our heart and pouring of our heart and pouring of our heart, we get taught incorrect ways to show love, you know what I'm saying? And that's one of the reasons why I feel like the laws of fornication are in the Bible written the way that they are, because it's there as a layer of protection, because it is like, I know that you want to give your love, and I know one of the ways that you feel like you need to give your love is through sex. You know what I'm saying? It's like God knew all of this already. God knew what we were facing already, you know what I'm saying? And he kind of put it out there that way and structured it that way, because he knew that if we followed that, we would be protected. And if we didn't follow it, then we would end up in situations like a lot of us did when we fell for the narcissist and when we got caught up in these situations. Because I'm almost 100% certain that a lot of you guys that follow my channel got caught up because of lust. A lot of you guys got caught up because of sex. A lot of you guys got caught up because of fornication. And even the ones that were in actual marriages and things like that, what led you to that person when you finally did get married to that person? Like, what was the motivating factor for you to even marry that person? Were you actually following God and God's plan and all of that kind of stuff? So Jessica, I absolutely appreciate the question, because like I said, it was so thought-provoking that it made me think about my answer for several days. And I do feel like there's been a lot of times in my life where God was carrying me, you know, even when I tried to go off the path. Every time that I tried to go off the path just by my own, just out of my own will, or just out of my own desires, because I started desiring things of the flesh instead of being, you know, completely in him. I honestly feel like those are the times where God was allowing me to do it, but he was carrying me through it. You know what I'm saying? He was, and like I said, that's why I feel like it goes back to the footprints, like the poem or the quote about the footprints. I honestly feel like, you know, in those times, when it felt like I was being led away from God, but every single time that I was being led away from God, it pulled me closer to him, because I got so far in the wilderness that I couldn't save myself no more. You know what I'm saying? I got so far out there and not even like on purpose, not even, you know, you just living life and you thinking that, you know, you just, you know, loving on people the way that you believe that you're supposed to love on people. And that's one of the things about being an empath is like I said, we give of ourselves in a lot of different ways and don't set certain boundaries for ourselves. So we give all of ourselves. So, you know, it's cool to, you know, be supportive of people and do certain things for people and, you know, even build relationships with people. But when it starts to get to where your boundaries are being pressed and you are starting to do things outside of the norm and outside of what, you know is in God's will for your life and all of that kind of stuff, then it's kind of like, well, you know, am I really in relationship with God? Am I really doing everything to keep my connection with God strong? You know what I'm saying? So I absolutely appreciate the question, Jessica. I always felt a connection to God. I always felt like there was a purpose over my life. And the more and more I talk to you guys, I feel like this may be one of my purposes in my life, is because I have a lot of life experiences and I have a lot of old childhood trauma and things that I've been through that I couldn't make sense of when I was a child. But it allows me the strength to get on here and talk to you guys. And I know some of you guys may not be strong enough just yet, but I know y'all gonna get there, man. I'm rooting for y'all. And if it's anything that I can do, you know, just reach out. Y'all, the email is in the description box, and, you know, just, you know, shoot me an email. And if it's anything that I can do on my end, you know, to help you guys, if it's any questions or anything, you know, and I'm gonna try to set up some time where I can talk to you guys on a personal level, one-on-one. I've got a lot of things going on, but I feel like, you know, the channel is getting to the point where we can start kind of doing some one-on-one stuff and getting to know each other a little bit more on a personal level, and I can just, you know, help guide you through this because I've been through it, you know what I'm saying? And I've been through it on more than one level, and I didn't even realize what narcissism was. But now that I do realize what it is, I realized that I had a plethora of knowledge of like life knowledge, not even, you know, I've got a plethora of life experience that I feel like can help a lot of you guys get through some of the darkest days of your life, because I've lived through a lot of them, you know what I'm saying? So I absolutely appreciate your feedback, man. Thanks to each and every last one of you guys for continuing to rock with the channel. If you're new here, go ahead and hit the subscribe button. I'm gonna keep answering y'all questions, so just keep dropping them in the comment section, and I'm gonna keep on dropping content when I can, man. I love you guys, and I'll see y'all in a minute. Love y'all.